My phone buzzed 3 times in rapid succession. 3 messages from my mother, each more demanding than the last. I stared at the screen, my fingers hovering over the keypad as nausea crept up my throat. Cancel your engagement party. Sophie's promotion celebration is that weekend. Family comes first, Aria. The irony of her last statement made me want to hurl my phone across the room. Instead, I gripped it tighter, watching my knuckles turn white. 3 weeks of meticulous planning, dozens of confirmed guests, and non-refundable deposits. All meant nothing compared to Sophie's impromptu celebration. Everything okay? Jack's warm hand settled on my shoulder. I hadn't heard him come into the kitchen. My sister got promoted. The words tasted bitter. Mother wants us to cancel our engagement party. What? That's ridiculous. We've been planning this for months. I showed him the messages. His jaw tightened, the only sign that he was as angry as I was. Jack had learned early in our relationship to measure his words when it came to my family. Your mother does realize we've already paid for everything. Oh, she knows. She just doesn't care. I scrolled through the previous messages from the past week. Look at this. She's been hinting at it. Sophie has big news coming. We might need to be flexible with dates. I should have seen this coming. The kitchen counter was covered with sample place cards I'd been organising, each one handwritten in careful calligraphy, another skill Sophie had always dismissed as quaint and old-fashioned. My phone buzzed again. Call me immediately. This isn't a request. Don't, Jack said quietly. Not while you're upset. I'm always upset when it comes to them. I pushed away from the counter, pacing the kitchen. You know what the worst part is? Sophie probably didn't even ask for this. Mother just decided, like she always does. The memories flooded back. My high school graduation rescheduled because of Sophie's dance recital, my college acceptance celebration combined with Sophie's junior prom send-off, my art show opening missed because Sophie had a minor cold. We're not cancelling, Jack said firmly. This is our engagement party, not a casual dinner plan. My phone started ringing. Mother's face filled the screen. A photo from happier times that I kept meaning to change. I declined the call. She'll just keep calling. Let her. Jack gathered the place cards into a neat stack. What do you want to do? The question caught me off guard. In my family, what I wanted had always been secondary, tertiary even, after Mother's wishes and Sophie's needs. Another text. Your silence is childish and disappointing. Sophie worked hard for this promotion. My fingers moved before I could stop them. So did I, for my engagement party. The response was immediate. Don't make this about you. I laughed, a harsh, broken sound that made Jack look up sharply. When has it ever been about me? Aria. Jack's voice held a warning note. He knew my tells, knew when I was about to do something rash. I'm done. I straightened my spine, feeling something shift inside me. I'm done being the reasonable one, the understanding one, the one who always gives in. My phone buzzed again, this time with a message from Sophie. Mum's really upset. Can't you just move your party? It's not that big a deal. Not that big a deal. Like my engagement was just an inconvenient scheduling conflict. We're keeping our date, I said, my voice steady. And I'm going to do something I should have done years ago. What's that? Jack asked, though his expression suggested he already knew. I'm going to make them understand exactly how it feels to be treated like an afterthought. I picked up my phone, opened my contact list, and began deleting numbers, starting now. The screen lit up with another incoming call from Mother. This time, I didn't just decline it, I blocked her number. The family photo album sat heavy in my lap, its leather cover cracked with age. I hadn't opened it in years, but blocking Mother's number had unleashed a flood of memories I couldn't ignore. I found Sophie's promotion announcement, Jack said, holding up his phone. Vice President of Marketing at 24, that's impressive. Let me guess, Mother already shared it everywhere. 300 likes in 2 hours. I flipped through the album, stopping at my college graduation photo. In it, Sophie stood front and center, her bright red dress drawing every eye. I was off to the side in my cap and gown, half cropped out of the frame. Did I ever tell you about my first art show? I traced the edge of another photo, Sophie's Sweet 16. It was the same night as Sophie's regional dance competition. Mother told me it was selfish to expect the family to choose between us. Did anyone come? Grandma Marie! She sat there for 3 hours, bought 2 pieces. I closed the album. Mother said I was trying to steal attention from Sophie's big night. My phone lit up with a text from Lily. Your mum's calling everyone. She's saying you're having a breakdown. What's happening? Before I could respond, another message appeared. Sophie just posted about her promotion party, same date as your engagement celebration? That can't be coincidence. The doorbell rang, making us both jump. Through the front window, I spotted my father's silver Mercedes. I can tell him you're not here, Jack offered. No, I need to handle this. Father stood on our porch, looking uncomfortable in his tailored suit. He always dressed like he was heading to a board meeting, even on weekends. Your mother's worried, he said, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. She says you're not answering her calls. I'm sure she is worried. I kept my voice level, worried that for once she can't control the situation. Aria. He used his warning tone, the one that used to make me shrink into myself. This isn't like you. Sophie worked hard for this promotion. And I worked hard planning my engagement party. 3 weeks of preparation, thousands in deposits. Money isn't the issue. He waved his hand dismissively. We'll cover any costs. That's not the point, and you know it. The point is family unity. Your mother has already announced Sophie's celebration. Of course she has. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Did she mention she demanded I cancel my engagement party first? Or did she just make it look like I'm the unreasonable one? Father shifted his weight, avoiding my eyes. There's no need for drama. We can celebrate your engagement another time. Like you celebrated my art show, or my graduation, or every other milestone that got pushed aside for Sophie. That's not fair. No, what's not fair is you standing there once again, telling me to sacrifice my happiness for Sophie's convenience. Jack moved closer, his presence steady behind me. Father's eyes flickered between us. Your mother says Jack's been influencing you, turning you against the family. Jack's the only one who's ever put me first. The words came out sharp, cutting. Maybe that's why you all hate him so much. Father's face hardened. We don't hate. Save it. I pulled out my phone, opened Sophie's social media post about her promotion party. Look at the comments. Mother's already told everyone I'm having a breakdown, hasn't she? That I'm being difficult and selfish? His silence was answer enough. Get out. My voice was quiet but firm. Tell Mother her manipulation tactics won't work this time. The engagement party stays as planned. You'll regret this attitude, Aria. Family is all we have in the end. No, Father. Family is supposed to have our backs, not stab us in them. After he left, Jack held me while I shook, not with tears but with rage. My phone buzzed again. A message from Sophie. You're embarrassing yourself. Just reschedule. You're making Mom sick with worry. I opened my laptop and began typing an email to our entire extended family. It was time they heard my side of the story, starting with a simple truth. For years, I've stayed silent about the systematic emotional abuse in our family. That silence ends today. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. The war mother started. I was going to finish it. The responses started flooding in within hours of my email. Aunt Carol called me brave. Uncle Steve said I was attention-seeking. Cousin Nina sent a private message about similar experiences. But it was Lily's text that made my hands shake. Check your mother's latest email thread now. I found it buried in my spam folder. A group message to the entire family with the subject line, concerning Aria's mental state. Attached were carefully selected photos spanning years, each one doctored to paint a narrative. Me looking sullen at Sophie's graduation while everyone else smiled. Me standing apart at family gatherings. All carefully curated evidence of my supposed instability. She's been planning this, I whispered, scrolling through the thread. These photos go back years. Jack leaned over my shoulder reading. She's gaslighting the entire family. Look at the timestamps. She sent this minutes after my email. She was prepared for me to fight back. My phone rang, Sophie's number. Against my better judgment, I answered. What the hell are you doing? Her voice crackled with rage. Do you know what you've started? Funny, I was about to ask you the same thing. Did you help Mother collect those photos? A pause. Too long to be innocent. You're paranoid. Am I? Because someone had to send her those pictures of me at your college graduation. The ones where I look unstable because I had food poisoning. You're twisting everything. Like Mother twisted the truth about my art show? Tell me, Sophie, did you really have a dance competition that night? Or did Mother just tell everyone that? Another pause, heavier this time. What are you talking about? Check your old competition schedule. I did. There was no regional competition that weekend. Mother lied to everyone, including you. The silence stretched. I heard papers rustling on her end. That's not possible. Isn't it? She's been playing us against each other our whole lives, Sophie. I'm just the first one to say it out loud. A knock at the door interrupted us. Through the window, I saw Grandma Marie's familiar silhouette. I have to go, I told Sophie, but while you're fact-checking, look up when your company actually announced vice president promotions, because according to their website, they happened 2 months ago. I ended the call and opened the door. Grandma Marie stood there, clutching her ancient leather handbag and looking grimmer than I'd ever seen her. Your mother called me, she said, stepping inside. Told me to talk sense into you. But first, show me these emails everyone's talking about. I handed her my laptop. She read in silence, her expression darkening with each paragraph. Your mother's response, she finally said, reminds me of something your grandfather used to do. He'd rewrite history so convincingly sometimes I'd doubt my own memories. Did you ever confront him? No. She closed the laptop. And I've regretted it every day since. But you should know your mother's latest email blast included something she thought would destroy you. My stomach clenched. What? Financial records, suggesting you've been stealing from the family business. The room tilted. I grabbed the counter for support. That's impossible. I've never even had access. Exactly. Grandma Marie's eyes glittered. And I have proof. I've kept every document since your grandfather made me company treasurer 30 years ago, including the real records that show who's been skimming money. Understanding dawned. Sophie, and your mother, covering for her. They've been doctoring books for years. She patted her handbag. I brought copies. I've been waiting for someone brave enough to stand up to them. My phone buzzed. Another email from Mother. Final warning. Retract your accusations, or tomorrow everyone learns what you've really been doing. I looked at Grandma Marie, saw the steel in her eyes matching my own resolve. Send me those records, I said. It's time to show Mother what real evidence looks like. Be careful, dear. Grandma Marie squeezed my hand. The most dangerous moment is when someone like your mother realizes they're losing control. I thought of all the years of manipulation, the carefully constructed lies, the orchestrated family drama. Good, I said. Let her feel what it's like to be powerless for once. As I drafted my response, attaching the real financial records, I felt something shift inside me. The last traces of doubt burning away in the face of cold, hard truth. The financial records spread across my kitchen table like a roadmap of betrayal. Each spreadsheet told its own story, money siphoned from company accounts, fabricated expenses, all carefully hidden beneath layers of creative accounting. Sophie's signature appeared on document after document, alongside Mother's authorizing initials. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing since I'd forwarded everything to the family board members. Your sister's outside, Jack said, peeking through the curtains. She looks different. I joined him at the window. Sophie stood by her car, makeup-free, wearing old jeans instead of her usual designer clothes. She looked younger, almost vulnerable. Don't let her manipulate you, Jack warned. I know their tricks now. I opened the door before she could knock. Here to threaten me again. Sophie stepped inside, her movements uncertain. I came to ask why. Why what? Why did I expose the truth? Why did I stop letting Mother puppet master our lives? Or why did you steal from our family's company? She flinched. I didn't. It wasn't stealing. Mother said it was my rightful share, that father would never properly compensate me otherwise. And you believed her? Like you believed her when she said I demanded to have my promotion party on your engagement date? Sophie's voice cracked. I never asked for that. I didn't even know about it until she announced it. I stayed silent, watching her unravel. The company's launching an audit, she continued. I'll lose my job, my reputation, everything I've worked for, everything you stole for. I didn't know! She slammed her hand on the counter. Mother handled all the paperwork. She said it was standard practice, that everyone did it. I just signed what she gave me. Jack moved closer to me. Why are you really here, Sophie? She pulled out her phone, hands shaking. Because of this. She played a voicemail from Mother. Fix this mess with your sister immediately, or I'll make sure everyone knows exactly whose idea the embezzlement was. I have documents with only your signature, darling. Who do you think they'll believe? The familiar cold calculation in Mother's voice made my skin crawl. She's turning on you, I said. She's turning on everyone. Sophie's laugh was hollow. I checked the competition dates like you said. There was never any conflict with your art show, or your graduation, or anything else. It was all her, playing us against each other, and I was too stupid to see it. We both were. The board's meeting tomorrow. Sophie wrapped her arms around herself. Mother's presenting her evidence, all pointing to me acting alone. Father's already distancing himself. I have nowhere else to go. I studied my sister, really looked at her for the first time in years. Behind the perfect facade Mother had crafted, I saw someone as trapped as I'd been. Show me everything, I said. Every document, every email, every conversation with Mother about the company finances. Why would you help me? After everything? Because destroying you was Mother's plan, not mine. I grabbed my laptop, and I'm done letting her win. Jack touched my shoulder. Are you sure about this? Mother wanted us to tear each other apart. Instead, we're going to tear down her whole system. I turned to Sophie. But first, you need to tell me the truth. All of it. Sophie nodded, tears spilling. There's something else you should know. About your engagement party venue? Mother didn't just try to force you to cancel. She called them pretending to be you. They're giving your deposit to her tomorrow unless you confirm in person. My fingers curled into fists. When? 9 a.m. She's meeting them before the board meeting. I opened my email, began typing. Perfect, because at 9:15 the board will receive proof of every manipulation, every lie, every scheme she's ever pulled, including her latest attempt at fraud. They'll destroy her, Sophie whispered. No. I hit send on the email to my lawyer. She destroyed herself. We're just going to make sure everyone sees it. Sophie's phone buzzed. Another message from Mother. She showed it to me. Don't disappoint me like your sister did. I deleted the message. Ready to disappoint her together? For the first time in years, my sister's smile matched mine. Genuine, determined, and just a little bit dangerous. Let's end this, she said. The country club's dining room fell silent as I walked in, whispers following in my wake. Mother sat at her usual corner table, holding court with her social circle. Her eyes met mine, and for a moment, I saw genuine surprise crack through her perfect mask. Darling, she called out, voice honey-sweet, I didn't expect to see you here. Clearly. I approached their table, noting how her friends shifted uncomfortably. Is that why you felt safe spreading rumors about Jack's gambling addiction? One of her friends, Mrs. Henderson, choked on her mimosa. I'm merely concerned, Mother said smoothly, as any mother would be given the circumstances. What circumstances? The ones you fabricated? Or the ones you paid people to believe? Aria, her warning tone, the one that used to make me shrink. You're making a scene. No, Mother. You made the scene when you told the entire club that Jack's family is involved in money laundering. That's libel, by the way. His law firm is very interested in discussing it. The colour drained from her face. You wouldn't dare. Check your email. Their cease and desist letter arrived an hour ago. Mrs. Henderson and the others began gathering their purses, murmuring excuses. Mother's fingers tightened around her water glass. Why are you doing this? Because you left me no choice. Did you really think I wouldn't find out about you impersonating me to cancel my venue booking? A flash of panic crossed her features, quickly masked. I don't know what you're talking about. The venue manager recorded the call, Mother. Standard practice for contract changes. Would you like to hear your performance? She stood abruptly. We should discuss this privately. Like how you privately told Aunt Sarah that Jack got me pregnant to trap me into marriage. Or how you privately suggested to Uncle Robert that my art gallery is a front for tax evasion. Everything I've done has been to protect you. From what? Happiness? Independence? The ability to exist without your control? You're hysterical. She reached for my arm. This is exactly why... I stepped back. Touch me and I'll add assault to the lawsuit. Her mask cracked completely. You ungrateful little... Mother! Sophie's voice cut through the tension. She stood in the doorway holding a manila envelope. The board members are asking for you. Something about unauthorized transfers from the company accounts. Mother's face went from rage to calculation in an instant. Sophie, darling, perfect timing. Tell them. I already told them everything. Sophie moved to stand beside me, including how you forged my signature on half those documents. I made you! Mother's voice rose, drawing stares from nearby tables. Everything you are, everything you have, is built on lies, I finished, but that stops today. You think anyone will believe you over me? I've spent years building our family's reputation, while destroying ours. Sophie opened the envelope, spreading photos across the table. Grandma Marie kept everything, Mother. Every doctored photo, every manipulated document, every piece of evidence showing how you pitted us against each other. Mother's hands shook as she looked at the photos. Marie wouldn't... Already did, I said. The board has copies. So does Father. Daniel would never... He signed the audit approval this morning. Sophie's voice cracked. It's over, Mother. Security appeared at the dining room entrance, summoned by whom I couldn't tell. Mother saw them too, her face hardening into something unrecognizable. You'll regret this, she hissed. Both of you. When everything falls apart, don't come crawling back. Mrs. Harrison? One of the security guards approached. We need you to come with us. The board members are waiting. I watched them escort her out, her head held high, even in defeat. The dining room erupted in whispers as soon as she was gone. Sophie gripped my hand. Did we just... Yeah, I squeezed back. We did. What happens now? My phone buzzed. A message from Jack. Venue secured. They're pressing charges for fraud. Now, I said, we plan an engagement party. A real one, without any manipulation or control. Think she'll retaliate? I looked at the scattered photos on the table, years of evidence of Mother's machinations. Probably, but this time we're ready for her. Sophie picked up one of the photos, us as children, before Mother's games tore us apart. We should have done this years ago. We weren't strong enough then. I gathered the evidence back into the envelope, but we are now. The board meeting ended in chaos. Through the glass walls of the conference room, I watched Mother storm out, leaving scattered papers in her wake. Father followed, his face ashen, while Sophie sat frozen in her chair, staring at nothing. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Notifications from every social platform, all sharing Mother's latest post. With heavy hearts, we must address the disturbing allegations made by our daughter Aria, who has struggled with reality since childhood. The attached photos showed me at my worst moments, carefully curated evidence of a narrative she'd been building for years. Me looking unstable at family events, medical records from my teenage anxiety attacks, therapy sessions she'd forced me into after Sophie's dance recitals overshadowed my art shows. She's thorough, Lily said, scrolling through the comments. She's painting you as mentally unstable, claiming everything you've revealed is a delusion. The financial records, She's saying you fabricated them, that your obsession with undermining Sophie's success has reached dangerous levels. Lily hesitated. Half the family's already sharing it. My hands shook as I opened another notification. A message from the venue. Given recent concerning developments, we must terminate our contract immediately. Jack burst through the boardroom doors. Your mother's lawyers are filing a cease and desist. They're claiming defamation, threatening criminal charges for the company financial records. But they're real. They're saying you hacked the system, planted false evidence. He ran a hand through his hair. They've frozen Grandma Marie's access to the archives. Without her original documents, Sophie finally moved, her voice hollow. Mother's claiming I had a breakdown, that you manipulated me into making false accusations against her. She's already contacted my company's HR department. The room spun. Everything we'd gathered, every piece of evidence, every careful plan, Mother had anticipated it all, laid her trap, and waited for us to walk right into it. My phone buzzed again. A text from Father. Your mother is willing to forgive this episode if you agree to intensive treatment. Don't force us to take legal action. She's going to win, I whispered. She always wins. No. Jack grabbed my shoulders. We can fight this. Your grandmother is being evaluated for cognitive decline according to Mother's latest update. Lily showed us the post. She's suggesting Marie's memory can't be trusted. The conference room door opened. Nina slipped in, looking pale. Aunt Megan's at the hospital with Grandma Marie. She collapsed after the lawyers left. What? Sophie stood so fast her chair toppled. That's impossible. She was fine this morning. Mother's post just went live, Lily interrupted. Devastated by the strain of her granddaughter's accusations, beloved family matriarch Marie Harrison suffered a stress-induced cardiac event. My legs gave out. Jack caught me before I hit the floor. She's using Grandma Marie's condition to prove how destructive I am. The realization felt like acid in my throat. She's turning my own revenge into proof of my instability. Sophie's phone chimed. The company's suspending me pending investigation. Mother's lawyers submitted evidence that I was coerced into making false allegations. We have to retract everything, Nina said quietly, before she destroys you both completely. If we do that, she wins. But my voice lacked conviction. She already has. Sophie's laugh was bitter. She planned for this, Arya. Every move we made, she was 10 steps ahead. My engagement party invitation sat on the conference table, elegant and mocking. All I'd wanted was one day that was mine, one moment without Mother's manipulation. Instead, I'd given her exactly what she needed to prove her point. What do we do now? Sophie asked. Before I could answer, every phone in the room buzzed simultaneously. A group message from Mother. Your father and I are deeply concerned about this destructive behavior. We've arranged for immediate intervention. The facility comes highly recommended. Attached was a brochure for a private mental health hospital. She's going to have me committed. The words felt distant, unreal. She's going to use everything I've done as proof that I'm unstable. Jack pulled me close. I won't let that happen. You might not have a choice. I stared at the invitation, at all our ruined plans. She's won, hasn't she? She's finally won completely. Sophie touched my arm. Unless what? Unless we give her exactly what she wants. Let her think she's won. Sophie's eyes held a dangerous glint. And then we show her what real manipulation looks like. I looked at my sister, really looked at her, and saw Mother's daughter. But this time, that might be exactly what we needed. The hospital corridor stretched endlessly, antiseptic and cold. I walked between two orderlies, playing the role Mother had written for me. The unstable daughter, finally accepting help. Behind us, Mother's heels clicked against the linoleum, a victory march. You're doing the right thing, darling, she said, her voice dripping concern. The doctors here will help you work through these delusions. I kept my head down, shoulders hunched, exactly how she expected me to look. Broken, defeated. The admitting room was small, windowless. A doctor sat behind the desk, reviewing the thick file Mother had provided. All those carefully curated incidents, all those manipulated moments, bound together to tell her version of my life. "Just sign here." Mother pushed the admission papers forward. "We'll take care of everything else." My hand trembled as I reached for the pen. Not from fear, but anticipation. "Before I sign, Arya," her warning tone, "don't make this difficult. I want to apologize." I looked up, met her eyes. "You were right. About everything." Surprise flickered across her face, quickly replaced by satisfaction. "Of course I was, darling. I've only ever wanted what's best. Which is why I recorded everything." The pen clattered to the floor. Mother's mask slipped just for a moment. "What?" "Check your phone, Mother. Sophie's been live streaming since we entered the hospital." She grabbed her phone, fingers shaking as she opened the notification. There was Sophie standing in the hospital lobby, broadcasting to hundreds of viewers. "My mother's attempt to institutionalize my sister for exposing her crimes." Sophie's voice came through clearly. "The same tactics she used to silence Grandma Marie. Turn that off!" Mother lunged for her phone, but the damage was done. Comments flooded the stream, shares multiplying by the second. The doctor stood. "Mrs. Harrison, these allegations are supported by evidence," Jack said, stepping into the room with 2 police officers, including Grandma Marie's original financial records, which she had digitally notarized years ago, anticipating exactly this situation. Mother's face contorted. "You ungrateful." "The board members are watching the stream," I cut in, "along with HR, the family lawyers, and every social contact you've cultivated over the years. They're all seeing exactly who you are." "No one will believe. They already do." I pulled out my phone, showed her the incoming messages. Support, apologies, revelations of their own experiences with her manipulation. "You taught me well, Mother. About keeping evidence, about playing the long game, about waiting for the perfect moment to strike." Her hand shot out, nails raking my cheek. The officers moved instantly, restraining her. "You're nothing without me," she screamed. "I made you both. Everything you are is in spite of you, not because of you." Sophie appeared in the doorway, phone still broadcasting. "It's over, Mother. The board's called an emergency meeting. Father's already agreed to testify about the financial fraud." Mother's struggles ceased. She straightened, smoothed her hair, tried to reclaim her dignity. "You've destroyed this family." "No." I stood taller, letting her see the strength she'd tried to break. "You did that years ago. We're just finally breaking free." The officers began reading her rights. Mother stared at me, really looked at me, perhaps for the first time in years. "You think you've won?" Her laugh was brittle. "You're more like me than you know. This revenge, this manipulation, I taught you everything. You taught me how to survive you." I picked up the admission papers, tore them in half. "But I taught myself how to live without you." They led her away, her threats echoing down the corridor. Sophie ended the live stream, hands shaking. "Did we just—" "Yeah." I touched my bleeding cheek. "We did." Jack wrapped an arm around me. "The venue called. They want to reinstate the contract for the engagement party." I looked at the torn papers, at the doorway where Mother had finally faced the consequences of her actions, at Sophie who'd chosen truth over manipulation. "No," I said. "I don't want to celebrate there. Too many echoes of her influence." "Then where?" I smiled, feeling lighter than I had in years. "Somewhere new. Somewhere she's never been. Somewhere we can start fresh." Sophie took my hand. "Together? Together." I squeezed back. But this time, on our terms. Through the hospital windows, sunlight broke through the clouds, a new day without Mother's shadow looming over us. Finally, beautifully, free. Grandma Marie's garden bloomed with late summer flowers as I helped her into her favorite chair. The fraud investigation had taken its toll, but her eyes remained sharp as ever. "Your mother's sentencing is tomorrow," she said, adjusting her shawl. I know. I deadheaded a wilting rose. Father asked me to speak on her behalf. Will you? The rose petals scattered in the breeze. No. Sophie appeared with a tea tray, setting it carefully on the garden table. She'd moved in with Grandma Marie after everything, helping manage the company's restructuring while building her own consulting firm. The board approved the new transparency measures, she said, pouring tea. Everything Mother touched is being audited. And the family? Grandma Marie asked. I touched the fading scar on my cheek. Half of them still think I destroyed a perfect family. The other half wish they'd spoken up sooner about their own experiences with Mother. Perfect isn't the same as healthy. Grandma Marie took her tea. I learned that too late with your grandfather. Is that why you kept all the evidence? Sophie asked. I kept it because truth has a way of demanding to be heard. She pulled an envelope from her shawl. Speaking of which, inside was a photograph I'd never seen. Mother as a young woman, standing in this same garden, looking haunted and small while grandfather loomed behind her. She was like you once, Grandma Marie said softly, before she decided control was safer than freedom. The revelation settled like lead in my stomach. I'm nothing like her. No? Grandma Marie's gaze was gentle but firm. You orchestrated her downfall with the same precision she used to orchestrate your life. The difference is your choice of what to do with that power. My phone buzzed. A message from Jack about final details for our small wedding next week. No grand engagement party, no social media announcements, no carefully curated guest list. Just truth, simply told. I found more of Mother's journals, Sophie said quietly. From when we were kids. Her voice cracked. She had everything planned, every competition, every achievement, every spontaneous moment. Our whole lives were her carefully staged production. But she didn't plan for this, I gestured between us choosing each other over her games. No, Sophie smiled. That was all us. Grandma Marie touched the photograph. Your mother will have a lot of time to think about her choices now. The question is, what will you do with your freedom? I looked at my sister, at the garden where we'd once played before Mother's manipulation drove us apart, at the empty space where control had masqueraded as love for so long. I'm going to paint again, I said. Open my own gallery. With questionable accounting practices, Sophie teased. With complete transparency. I squeezed her hand. No more shadows, no more secrets. Speaking of secrets, Grandma Marie pulled out another envelope. There's something you should know about your grandfather's estate. But before she could continue, Father appeared at the garden gate. He looked older, greyer, but somehow lighter too. The prosecutors offered her a deal, he said without preamble. If she pleads guilty, they'll recommend a lighter sentence. Will she take it? Sophie asked. Only if you both agree to weekly family counselling sessions with her. The old familiar pressure descended, the weight of Mother's expectations, the obligation to maintain family harmony at any cost. But this time it felt different. No, I said, and Sophie nodded in agreement. Father didn't look surprised. She said you'd say that, said it proves how much like her you've become. Maybe she's right. I stood, facing him fully. Maybe I learned more from her than she intended, but I also learned what not to become. He nodded slowly, turned to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. For not seeing it sooner. For not being stronger. We all have to choose our own way to be strong, Grandma Marie said, holding up the photograph. Some of us just take longer to figure out how. I watched Father leave, thinking about choices and consequences, about the fine line between justice and vengeance, about Mother sitting in her cell, probably still plotting, still trying to control the narrative. But her narrative didn't matter anymore. We were writing our own stories now. So, Sophie picked up her tea, about that gallery opening. Yes, I smiled, feeling the last weights of Mother's influence fall away. Let's talk about creating something new,